Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm Tracy Morgan. So nice to have you with us just after 11 o'clock, which means we are here together for another 30 minutes. Today is our day with specialized staffing. Of course, Lisa Gard is in today. And before we get to her, just remember you have the app on your iPhone or Android devices. You have us online with our stream at WISR680.com. And you can also catch our podcast for the day, which this will be it. You just go online and search out the podcast and look for specialized staffing. And so we will do that with Lisa Gard. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm great, Tracy. How are you?
Always nice to have you in.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. So I know typically when we talk about specialized staffing, we're talking from the job seeker's perspective, but we're going to kind of flip that around today, aren't we?
We are. I thought that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. So we're going to talk about hiring, but from the hiring side of things. So let's talk about that first. So this is a little different, but talk about the intro to that. Who are the people that are hired, and just give us a little peek into this.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the clients we work with, the people who are actually doing the hiring, can differ in organizations based on the size of their companies. But in most small companies, we're working directly with business owners. They're the people who are doing the hiring. We work with managers of departments. In larger companies, there are leadership teams, in the way of department managers, general managers, things like that. So those are the people who are actually doing the hiring within the organizations we work with.
So talk about some of the challenges. I'm sure that hiring managers face quite a few. So what are those?
Various challenges we hear from our clients, and one of them, the first challenge, and you may find this interesting or kind of hard to believe, but even just to know what to look for when they're hiring. And it sounds kind of silly. Like you would think if you're looking to hire a customer service person, that's what you're looking for, a customer service person. But some hiring managers don't really know what they're looking for specifically. It's, they're looking for something general, but we really advise our clients to have a formally written job description. And it doesn't have to be anything that's incredibly lengthy, but this gives them kind of a map of what they're looking for. And when hiring managers are coming up with a job description, they want to include some very specific information, responsibilities and duties, and those are kind of different things. A good example of a responsibility is, let's use that customer service position. So a responsibility would be to ensure excellent customer service. Duties associated with that responsibility may be to respond to customer problems in a timely manner. Perform research to determine root causes of customer problems, work with the internal team to identify solutions to customer problems. So basically, what's required for that person to be successful in the job? What are they going to be required to do? What are they going to be responsible for? And then what do they need to bring to the table to meet those requirements? And when we talk about that, when we talk about requirements that a candidate brings to the table, there are two different kinds of requirements. There are hard skills and soft skills. So hard skills are very technical in nature. A good example of a hard skill is, what software do you know? What specific industry experience do you have? And then, are these technical skills a deal breaker? Are they absolutely required, or are they just a high preference? And then the soft skills are more personal in nature. What type of person is going to be successful in this role? Do they need to be outgoing? Do they need to be detail-oriented? Do they need to be articulate? Those are soft skills. You can't teach those things. You either have that or you don't. So you want to list both the technical skills and the soft skills that are going to be required for a person to be successful in the role. And then lastly, in that job description, you want to list the expectations. What are you going to expect from that person in order for them to be successful in that role? So again, we'll stick with that customer service example. So an example of an expectation might be to maintain a 95% customer satisfaction rating. There's an example of an expectation. And of course, you need to make sure those expectations are measurable. So how would you measure that? Obviously, it would be something like doing a customer service survey. You might have an expectation of a minimum of 100 outbound calls per week for a salesperson, and how will you measure that? So those are the components of the job description that kind of give you that map of what you're looking for. So once you have that, you have a better handle on what you're looking for.
Let me ask you about specialized staffing, if you don't mind, because you typically work I'm wondering, do you typically work with just one person that's hiring in a company, or are there multiple, I'm wondering because you work with so many companies. Yeah. So how many people are you working with?
Interesting, and that's a great question. A lot of times we are working with more than one person. Oftentimes there's the HR person, and then there's the manager of the department in which this person will work. Oftentimes, the owner of the company may want to get involved in the hiring process. And, it's a really good point that you bring up, Tracy, because it's also important once you have that job description done that everybody involved in the hiring process is on board and in agreement with all of the things on that job description. So you want to make sure that you have that job description documented, that everybody involved in the hiring process reviews it and approves it, and initials it in writing, get their buy-in to it. And a reason for this is to avoid a stalemate at the end of the process. So here's a good example. Hiring manager A feels that a college degree is absolutely necessary. It's a deal breaker. Hiring manager B feels experience is just as valuable. So hiring manager B isn't necessarily hung up on them having to have a degree. If you don't know that up front and clear that up, you'll get to the end of the process. You'll have, say 2 candidates that are very equal. One has a degree, one doesn't, and you can't make a decision because you have 2 people that are kind of flying in different directions. So very important to make sure that if you have more than one person involved in the hiring decision, that they're all on board with what you're looking for.
So aside from that possible disagreement, do they have other challenges that they have to face?
Yes, absolutely. So the next challenge I typically hear from our clients is that it's hard to know where to look. I mean, when you think about it, even as little as 10 years ago, you could just run an ad and get response. I remember when I first started my company, and now that I say that, it was way more than 10 years ago.
Like this.
Yeah. But, I remember when I first got into business, I could run an ad on Sunday, and by the end of the day, Monday, have a full interview schedule for the week. And it isn't necessarily like that anymore. And, there are some reasons for that. Unemployment in Butler County is very low compared to the rest of the state and the rest of the country. So you're getting fewer responses. There are fewer people out there looking. And then conversely, when unemployment is high and you run an ad, you get a ton of responses. And unfortunately, everybody's responding to everything, like throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks, So it can be overwhelming to have those responses to look through. So there's that. Job postings, we look at job postings, and online is certainly a resource that everybody's using now. That can also create an influx of resumes that's often overwhelming in volume. So, and the third thing about just posting and running ads is companies are limiting themselves to those who are reading the paper and surfing the internet. You're only going to have that audience.
So if you're talking about ads, and now you're talking about an age where there's so many other options, what are the other options that a manager could take?
So one of the other things they could be doing is using their network. It astounds me how often I find that hiring managers aren't tapping into the network that's right under their noses in the form of their own employees. So companies can implement employee referral programs and offer some sort of an incentive for employees to refer people they know and get the word out on the street and get referrals. And again, this is still fishing. We call this fishing. You're kind of throwing your lines in the water and reeling in what bites.
Now, is there anywhere else that they can look? I mean, you're talking ads, you're talking about so many phishing options. Where else can they look?
Sure. Well, so that's a great question. And while running ads and putting jobs up there online is still the place to start, there's a whole other group of candidates out there that they don't have access to, and that's the working candidate. So, working candidates, there are a lot of successful people out there working who are, maybe kicking around, toying with the idea of making a move, but they're just really too busy to conduct an active job search. So, they're not necessarily out there while they may glance through the want ads or, look online once in a while. They're really not actively searching the want ads, and they're not surfing the internet for job postings.
So, how can hiring managers tap into that hidden talent pool if they're not actively searching?
Sure. Well, so putting the word out is okay. That's certainly key, and using your network, and that often gets great results and better candidates. But also, working with recruiters is a great way to tap into that hidden pool. Our clients work with us, and that's one of the biggest reasons they work with us is that they have access to a hidden talent pool. Now, mind you, recruiters charge a fee. So, but that's what you get for your money. You get access to candidates who are otherwise not available to you, and a quicker turnaround time. We're not necessarily just, running ads and posting things online and just waiting for people to respond. Recruiters are out there hunting. They're not fishing, they're hunting. And a good recruiter will be a trusted advisor for you as a customer.
Folks, if you're just joining us today, we're talking with Lisa Gard with Specialized Staffing, of course, based right here in Butler County, but of course they branch out to many different locations. And before we continue, Lisa, let's get your phone number and your contact information.
Sure. Yep. Our phone number is area code 724-287-8380. Our website is www.specializedstaffinginc.com.
So, Lisa, you mentioned trusted advisor. What do you mean by that?
So I like to say that a good recruiter can be a trusted advisor to our clients. In the same way that we're a trusted advisor, we talk about, you and I get together once a month and talk about all the help we give to our candidates in terms of getting their resume together and preparing for interviews. So now we're talking from the hiring manager side. And in the same way, you need to get that job description ready. We can advise you in that capacity. We can advise you in terms of your compensation package. Is it competitive? What can you do to improve the attractiveness of what you have to offer? That's one thing. The other thing is how to really market yourself to attract great talent. We talk to our candidates about that, and from the same, from the same standpoint, a company needs to know how to really get out there and communicate what's great about working for their company, and we can advise them in that respect as well. And then lastly, your hiring process. Is it putting your company's best foot forward? We work with candidates and we help them prepare for the interview, and we help them put their best foot forward. And sometimes clients, especially in smaller companies where they don't have the resources, they're just as unprepared for the interview. So we can advise them and help them to make sure they're, a good example is, asking consistent questions between candidates so that they're comparing apples to apples and they're not just, winging it through the interview process. That's just an example.
So is it right for every single company to work with a recruiter? Is that the answer for everyone?
No.
Okay.
I would like to say yes, and I'm here talking about, you should work with my company, but no, I really don't think all companies should work with recruiters. Companies who can't justify the fee or who don't have the resources to devote to all those activities I just talked about, to identify and attract the talent they need, they really, you pay a recruiter a fee. So if you're gonna invest that kind of money, and I use the word invest because that's what it is. It's an investment, and if you're not prepared as a company to make that investment and make the most of it, then you probably shouldn't. Those companies who are going to duplicate efforts, companies who, if you're hiring and you're going to go out there and you're going to pay for your own ads and pay for your own advertising and pay for job postings and, pay somebody to screen through resumes and make the initial screen calls and check references, if you're going to do all that yourself anyway, then you're duplicating efforts and it's not going to be worth our fee to have you do that.
So when they're working with a recruiter, is that what you're doing or your company?
Yes.
Oh, you're
that's what
doing
they
all of
pay
that.
us to
Okay.
do. So if you're doing that yourself, it really is a duplication of efforts. You can certainly still work with a recruiter, but it devalues what the recruiter brings to the table. And chances are you're just really going to hope that you fill it yourself anyway.
So then what happens if I'm the company and I want to work with you, but yet I want to expand my pool as much as I can? Can I work with other recruiters? Should I work with other recruiters, or is that stepping on your toes?
Not really. I mean, there are companies that work with various recruiting firms, and I say some of my best clients started with me as a backup recruiter because they were already working with a recruiter. So it's always good to have more than one line in the water. But conversely, I say, you'll get better results if you pick one recruiter and work with them and let them do their job and let them be your advisor and trust them. You will get the best results from a recruiting firm that you give that exclusivity to. But yeah, you can work with more than one, for sure.
Lisa Gard with Specialized Staffing with us today for another few minutes, and even in your name it says specialized. So I'm curious, do you specialize? And when I ask that, I also want to ask, what does that mean to you?
Sure. So we do specialize, and I think we've all heard the term, you can't be everything to everybody. And I know when we first got into business, we certainly tried to do that. I would never turn somebody away when they called and said, can you find me a whatever? But what we found is that you can try to be everything to everybody, but then you're not really great at any one thing. So you're kind of doing everything and you're doing it marginally well. So what we found was we have kind of a niche, and I advise companies that if you can find a firm that specializes in your industry or in the type of placement you're looking for, that's a benefit to you. So our company we specialize in working with small to medium-sized companies here in Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio. A lot of them are in manufacturing, so manufacturing is definitely a sweet spot. We have lots of clients that are in non-manufacturing, but a lot of them are. And the fields that we specialize in include accounting and finance, administration, human resources, and within production, the salaried levels of production management and engineering. Those are our niche markets. We've conducted searches ongoing in marketing, sales, and purchasing, but when I say our sweet spot, those are the types of positions that we can really knock it out of the park with. So, when I say that, I look at companies that, for example, sometimes I just look on the internet and look at what other companies are doing, and I see, on a website of a recruiting firm, and I don't even think it was anybody local, but they had their open positions that they were looking to fill, and they had everything from a laborer and a truck driver to a physical therapist, and I want to say a dental technician, and then a computer programmer. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my word, like how can you be looking for all those different things and be expert at it? How do you really get good at that? So it seems to me that we do a better job for our clients because we're specializing in the type of industry and the type of placement.
Let me ask you this, that if a company is going to go ahead and start trying to recruit or trying to work with somebody, should they have, I'm thinking of those websites where I've seen the variety of jobs as well on a particular website. Should they take that off their website and only leave it to the recruiter, or what's best for them?
Most companies do have websites, and if they have a career page on their website, there's nothing wrong with putting that up there. And I'm glad you asked that because I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. Certainly utilize that. again, that's phishing. But if you're going to go out there, and you already have a website, so it's not costing you anything to put your position on that website. But if you're going to actually spend money on advertising and posting and resources and use a recruiting firm, do the math, you know. So certainly you can, put, and still, as I said before, still get the word out. I mean, if you have an employee referral program, by all means, continue to use that. But I'm talking about duplicating paid efforts.
Gotcha. All right. So let me ask you this then. How do hiring managers get in touch with their company if they're interested in working with you?
They can reach us the same way. Our website, specializedstaffinginc.com, to maybe do a little background, on what we do, who we work with, but also just give us a call, 724-287-8380.
What's the response been like from companies that have worked with you? I know you probably hear a lot from those who get hired. Because they're like, thank you so much. But how about on the company side, since we're talking about the hiring managers and that side of things today?
Well, we have a list of testimonials on our website. Our hiring managers have given us feedback in that they are impressed with the quality of candidate they get with us. They're impressed with the turnaround time we have. And again, we're always out there talking to candidates, especially in these fields. So if you have a position open in one of these fields, chances are we're connected with these people already. So our turnaround time is going to be less. And they also talk about how we are in touch with them every step of the way. Just like we are with the candidate, we're in touch with them every step of the way, advising them along the way of how to land the best candidate, how to land that candidate that they really want.
And I think from the candidate side, sometimes that can be intimidating when you're going into a big company. But it sounds like the company can also be, I don't want to say on weak ground, but be intimidated too, because you said sometimes they're not prepared for this.
Right, absolutely. And again, I'll go back to saying the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania as a state, but, Butler County especially, is so low that it's still a candidate-driven market. So if you're out there looking for employees, for good, qualified, top talent, you have to fight for it. Just like if you're out there as a job seeker and you're up against competition, same thing. If you're a company, you're competing with other companies. You're competing with not just your wages, but your benefit package, your company culture, the whole compensation package as a whole is only one little part of that. It's everything about working for your company. So it's just as important for companies to do their homework, get prepared, know how to market themselves, as it is for the candidate.
We talked about all the options that they have with the spots and the different ways that they can market themselves. Do you have companies that ever just work with you and that's all they want to do? Is that advantageous for them?
Absolutely, and we do. And it's funny because, I mentioned that some of our best clients started out as we were their backup service because, I really appreciate that I have loyal clients that give me exclusive business and we work our tails off for those clients. And that's the other thing about working with a recruiting firm. If you're giving them that type of exclusivity, they will jump through flaming hoops to make sure they are, they're coming through for you and getting you the very best candidates.
Let's talk about, again, how to get a hold of you, your website. I know we have about 5 minutes with you left, so, you can take us in whatever direction you'd like.
Sure. Well, you can reach us at 724-287-8380. Our website is specializedstaffinginc.com. For job seekers, we'll bounce back to that for a second. We do have a website, myspecializedcareer.com. That is a portal that offers resources for job seekers, resume templates, interview tips, how to prepare, ways that you can search the internet for, all the job posting sites at once. But also, I will talk a little bit about some of the current opportunities we have just to give you a flavor of the types of positions we're recruiting for right now. We are looking for a general business manager for a company here in Butler County. We also have several openings for quality engineers within manufacturing, project managers within manufacturing. Those are salaried positions that are direct hire. And then in the administrative fields, we're currently looking for an administrative assistant with construction company background, somebody who is used to working with deadlines and contracts and making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and things like that. So those are just a couple of things that we're working on. And potential job seekers can look at a full list of our current openings on our website, that's specializedstaffinginc.com.
Now, since we're talking about candidates, I always like to mention that it's free for candidates to work with you. But since we're focusing on the hiring managers today, I'm going to focus this question on them. Do you have a different range of fees? Not that we have to go through all the fees right now. It's just, do you have a different range in case you have a smaller company that is interested in working with you versus a large company that would have more money to be able to spend?
No, we don't base our fees on what our customers can afford, to afford to pay. Basically, you either decide you're going to make that investment or not. There are different ways the fees are structured, from being hiring somebody through a contract to hire type arrangement or just hiring somebody directly. Those are different, but we work that out typically, with the clients directly. But yeah, there are different structures, but the fees are across the board the same because that's fair.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So your just final thoughts just on speaking to those hiring managers, to those companies that maybe have never done this before. Maybe they are, your clients saying, hooray, I love them. But just the importance of a company working with you and how you can benefit them.
Sure. So a good professional recruiting firm can help you in that they can give you access to hard to find candidates. They can do it faster, and they will be your advisor through the whole process to make sure that you're getting the best candidates and that you're keeping them. Keeping them on that hook. I mean, if it's a candidate you truly want, then you want to make sure you're doing everything right to continue to attract them to your company.
And once they work with you, they can always come back. I mean, a company always has positions, right?
We have a lot of repeat business,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Lisa Gard, Specialized Staffing, of course, based right here in Butler. And how far out do you reach? You said Ohio, Western Pennsylvania.
Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, the 79 corridor up through Erie County, and, just the immediate 90 corridor between Erie, Cleveland.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Tracy.
So much. And folks, again, thank you for joining us for this segment of Let's Talk. Again, it will be online at WISR680.com, but Lisa Gard from Specialized Staffing. I'm Tracy Morgan with Let's Talk.